The story of Noah's Ark is one of the most famous tales in human history. A giant boat, pairs of animals, and a global flood. But most people don't realize that the moment Noah stepped off that ark, the entire fabric of reality changed. Genesis chapter 9 isn't just a wrap-up to a famous story. It is a cosmic reset button. It introduced radical dietary shifts, the origin of human justice, hidden ancient idioms, and a weapon hung up in the sky. Today, we are putting your biblical knowledge to the ultimate test. We've put together a 10-question trivia challenge covering the most unique, surprising, and deeply misunderstood mysteries of Genesis 9. Grab a pen and paper, keep track of your score, and let's see if you can get a perfect 10 out of 10. Let's dive in. Let's start out by looking at how this new world mirrors the old one. Question 1. What specific command is repeated in Genesis 9 verse 1 that directly echoes the creation mandate given to Adam and Eve in Genesis 1 verse 28? A. Do not eat from the tree. B. Build an altar of uncut stones to the Lord. C. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Or D. Take 7 pairs of every clean animal. The correct answer is C. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Why? God reiterates this command to Noah and his sons, emphasizing a recreation and the ongoing mission to populate the earth. Here is why this matters. By repeating the exact same command given in the Garden of Eden, the text is telling us that Noah is essentially a new Adam. The flood wasn't just a cleanup crew. It was a complete recreation of the world, and Noah's family was tasked with restarting humanity from scratch. Before we look at the specific promises made to Noah, we have to understand the framework. Question 2. What is a covenant? A. A binding relationship between God and humanity. B. Rules from a king without promises. C. A temporary 40-day business contract. Or D. A trade of goods between people. The correct answer is A. A binding relationship between God and humanity. Why? A biblical covenant is not just a contract. It is a sacred, enduring bond that establishes a relationship based on mutual commitments and divine promises. A covenant is a binding, solemn relationship established between God and humanity, sealed with promises. In modern English, we think of a covenant like a contract, but in the ancient world, it was much deeper. A contract is an exchange of goods or services, but a covenant is an exchange of persons. It creates a permanent, sacred family bond. Now that the world is reset, the very physics and biology of the earth start to shift. Question 3. How does God's provision for the human diet change compared to his original instruction in Genesis 1? A. Plants were prohibited. Only meat was allowed. B. Meat was added to the previous allowance of plants. C. Only water and manna were permitted. Or D. No change. The diet remained vegetarian. And the correct answer is B. Meat was added to the previous allowance of plants. Why? God explicitly expands the human diet here, stating everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. God grants humanity permission to eat meat, adding to the previous allowance of plants. Before the flood, the biblical text implies humanity was entirely vegetarian. But in Genesis 9 verse 3, God explicitly says everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. However, there was a catch. Humans were strictly forbidden from eating meat that still contained its lifeblood, establishing a deep reverence for the sacredness of life. Question 4. According to Genesis 9 verse 6, what truth justifies capital punishment for murder? A. Humanity is made in God's image. B. Humans are equal in strength to animals. C. Humans have the lifespan of angels. Or D. The earth is severely overpopulated. And the correct answer is A. Humanity is made in God's image. Why? The text states, For in the image of God has God made mankind. Taking a human life is a direct assault on the visual representative of God on earth. This is where civil justice is officially born in the Bible. The text explicitly states, For in the image of God has God made mankind. Because every human being carries the literal seal and reflection of the Creator. Taking a human life is considered an attack on God Himself. Therefore, the penalty had to match the cosmic severity of the crime. This brings us to the actual agreement God makes with creation. Question 5. To whom is the Noahic covenant universally directed in Genesis 9? A. Only the future nation of Israel. B. Noah, his descendants, and every living creature. C. Only the animals saved in the ark? Or D. Only Shem's descendants? And the correct answer is B. Noah, his descendants, and every living creature in earth. Why? This is the first entirely universal covenant. God establishes it with all flesh, making it a cosmic, environmental guarantee for the entire earth. Unlike later covenants with Abraham, Moses, or David, which were focused on a specific chosen people, the Noahic covenant is entirely universal. God makes this pact with the entire earth, including the animals and the earth itself. It is a divine guarantee that the basic ecosystem of the world will never be completely destroyed by a flood again. Question 6. In Genesis 9 verse 13, what does the Hebrew word kesheth originally refer to? A. A musical instrument. B. A sailing vessel's mast. C. A measuring tool for architecture. Or D. A warrior's battle bow, a weapon of war. The correct answer is D. Here's why. By placing his battle bow in the clouds pointed upward, away from earth, God was symbolically hanging up his weapon of war, signaling cosmic peace. Yes, a warrior's battle bow. This changes how you look at rainbows forever. In ancient Hebrew, there isn't a separate word for a rainbow. It's just kesheth, a weapon used to shoot arrows. By placing his battle bow in the clouds, God was doing something highly symbolic in ancient culture. He was hanging up his weapon of war. Notice, too, that the bow is pointed upward into the heavens, away from earth, signaling an era of cosmic peace. How are you doing on your score so far? Let me know in the comments. Things are about to take a dark turn. Question 7. What event reveals Noah's moral failure after the flood in Genesis 9, verse 20 and 21? A. He cursed all creation in anger. B. He committed idolatry with a bird image. C. He became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. Or D. He refused to leave the ark. The correct answer is C. He became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. Noah plants a vineyard, gets heavily intoxicated, and passes out naked, showing that even the new Adam is highly susceptible to human weakness. He becomes drunk from the wine of his vineyard and lies uncovered in his tent. Just like Adam fell in a garden, Noah, the new Adam, falls in a vineyard. He loses control of his faculties, gets heavily intoxicated, and passes out naked inside his tent. This is a deliberate narrative parallel, showing that despite the world being washed clean, human weakness and sin survived the flood right inside the ark. How do many scholars understand the Hebrew idiom uncovering his father's nakedness? A. Accidentally seeing his father changing clothes. B. A serious act of disrespect or sexual offense. C. Mocking his father's age and gray hair. Or D. Stealing his father's clothing. The correct answer is B. A serious act of disrespect or sexual offense. In books like Leviticus, uncovering nakedness is a strict legal idiom for severe sexual boundary violations or maternal incest, which explains Noah's profound rage upon waking up. Many scholars suggest that the phrase seeing or uncovering the nakedness of his father used during the incident with Ham is a Hebrew idiom, a euphemism for a severe act of disrespect, usurpation, or an illicit sexual offense. While it's possible Ham just saw his father clothed inappropriately, biblical scholars point out that in books like Leviticus 18, uncovering nakedness is an explicit Hebrew legal idiom for severe sexual boundary violations, maternal incest, or a forced coup of family authority. This deeper cultural context explains why Noah was so absolutely devastated and furious when he finally woke up. Finally, let's close out with a rapid-fire look at the numbers and timelines. Question 9. According to Genesis 9, verse 28, how long did Noah live after the flood? A. 75 years. B. 120 years. C. 350 years. Or D. 500 years. And the correct answer is C. 350 years. Genesis 9 verse 28 explicitly records, after the flood, Noah lived 350 years. Genesis 9 verse 28 records, after the flood, Noah lived 350 years. During this massive block of time, Noah watched generations of his descendants spread out across the mountains, build civilizations, and slowly begin the transition into the world of Abraham and the patriarchs. We have made it to the final question. Let's see if you can lock in that perfect score. Question 10. According to Genesis 9 verse 29, what was the total lifespan of Noah when his life came to an end? A. 950 years. B. 777 years. C. 969 years. Or D. 120 years. The correct answer is A. 950 years. Combining his 600 years before the flood and his 350 years after it, the Bible concludes, altogether, Noah lived a total of 950 years, and then he died. By doing the math, adding his 600 years of life before the flood to the 350 years he lived after it, the Bible concludes, altogether, Noah lived a total of 950 years, and then he died. This places him among the longest living individuals in the entire biblical narrative, marking the definitive end of the grand prehistoric era of human history. This quiz is complete. If you answered 8 to 10 questions correctly, you're a Bible scholar. If you answered 5 to 7 questions correctly, well done. If you answered 4 questions or below correctly, keep learning. Count your correct answers in your head. Replay to improve your score. Take a moment to reflect on what you learned about Genesis 9. God gives new beginnings. After the flood, God gave Noah and his family a fresh start and a renewed purpose. God keeps his promises. The covenant reminds us that God is faithful to his word even when circumstances change. Human life has value. Being made in God's image gives every human life dignity and worth. Our choices still matter. Noah's story reminds us that even after a great victory, we must remain humble, watchful, and faithful to God. Every detail in Scripture has purpose. So how did you do? Did you get a perfect 10 out of 10? Or did the ancient Hebrew idioms throw you off? Drop your score in the comments below. Genesis 9 is an incredible reminder that the Bible is filled with deep cultural context, vivid symbolism, and complex literary structures that go far beyond a surface-level reading. If you enjoyed this deep dive quiz and want to uncover more mysteries of the ancient world, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next chapter. Shalom.